most important technology trends that organizations should be aware of that as they define their digital strategies, or what are some of the emerging technologies or trends that you think people should really have top of mind or consider that they might not otherwise?
Let's see here. Well, certainly migration to the cloud, and I keep saying this, but making sure you understand with cloud and migration to the cloud, the different components, the different iterations of cloud implementations. And I'm going to come back to the public versus the private, making sure you understand what that looks like in terms of your own organization. But certainly that's probably the most important trend right now. Making sure that your points of integration and the technologies around supporting that are very important. Because again, everything, because we're building, we've kind of moved more to a Lego kind of, if I can use that, a Lego world, where we're building a framework where I've got a platform that allows me to build in and take out components. It becomes very important. So making sure, and I say cloud, but just making sure that your infrastructure, that layer allows for change, because you're on a path. You got to look at this as a path, a journey. And I'm going to assume you are going to be changing your technology. So I think that becomes very important. Not in addition to just your software as a service, that software layer and the data layer, but to make sure that your infrastructure layer is addressing your long-term needs. And it becomes even more important because I always use that example of building a house on sand. If you build a house on sand, it's going to sink. So building your digital strategy on a strong foundation so that I can change. One of the scenarios that we had for one of our clients here recently was all things equal. We had to look at their strategy around the platform of the infrastructure vendor they were going to go with. And ultimately it dictated what software provider they were going to go with, because they had invested a long-term strategy in a cloud solution, cloud provider. The tie between one cloud provider and the other layers of this technology stack, data and application, became more important. It was actually the game changer for the decision process versus the other two finalists, where they had the software and the platform layer being owned by two different organizations. So, and that they hadn't made a significant investment. It became a big part of the decision process. So,
Very
for me,
interesting.
so those tend to be the area that for me is more about making sure that you understand the components and the decision process around the components, as opposed to some of the technology trends.
Yeah, it's a good point, because we can get caught up in analysis paralysis, as I mentioned before, but looking at machine learning and AI and RPA and lots of cool stuff, right? I mean, a lot of the vendors are investing pretty heavily in these emerging technologies, but to your point, it's the different components of the digital strategy that's the more important thing, is making sure all fits and supports your strategy.
For sure. Some of the ones you just mentioned, you're seeing. I personally have not looking at ERP solutions. Business intelligence is still a dominant theme when we're talking about solutions. It's been in particular where people are trying to really get a 360 view of things. I want to see the 360 view of my customer, self-service capabilities, so that I can allow my customers and suppliers and other partners to have an understanding of how they're interacting with me. The Internet of Things has become, I'm seeing that more and more as we discuss technology solutions. So all the ones that we just talked about, but we're seeing those, but they're, again, they're becoming more and more the extensions. And so we have to just focus on the components and making sure that our drivers are validating in these technology solutions. For me, the trend around digital transformation, building the blueprint and the strategies and the roadmaps are becoming more trend because organizations are starting to recognize the importance of investing in the effort to make sure they understand. And it's not just the big, the large cap kind of firms that are doing that. Some of the small organizations are recognizing now that they need to really be taking a little bit more holistic view, because it's the life or, especially in the smaller firms, it's the life or death of my business. If I don't understand, I had one small company, just one more time, one small company, and they were not very efficient in their supply chain. All the classic problems. I can't see. There's no integration, and the speed of delivery was the most important aspect of their business. And because they use a lot of international, they export it. Having a digital connection to their shipment, the ocean carriers, was extremely important. So you can see right away, having a holistic view of the business, I can't just fix one area without understanding all of the business. So that became very important for them.
Yeah. Very interesting. Well, good. Well, that's a good overview. I know there's a lot we didn't talk about. We could spend a couple more hours talking about this, but I think that's a good place to leave it for now and give kind of a primer or an introduction to some of the things to be thinking about digital strategy.